with the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Supervisor Gitlin.
Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, introduction of any new employees. Gary. I knew we had a new one because I found somebody wandering the hall that didn't know where he
Looked
was.
like you knew what he was doing? Yeah. Hope, that might have been Byron. I want to introduce you to Byron Carithers, and Byron is our new Deputy Public Guardian and Public Conservator, and we're very glad to have him. He's come down from Southern Oregon.
Fantastic. All right.
Hello. No speech?
Well, it's nice to meet you all. It's nice to be here in Del Norte County, and I look forward to serving the public here.
Thank you very much. We're lucky to have you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, County Council, report out of any actions from closed session, please.
There was no action taken today.
Okay, so at this time, the chair is going to request any deletions, corrections, or additions from the board members to the agenda at this time. In order to add an item, it has to have arisen subsequent to posting the agenda, require action prior to our next meeting. Is there any such item? All right, then we're going to go ahead and move along and take brief reports from our fellow supervisors. Supervisor Gitlin.
Thank you, Chair. Well, after our board meeting, May 27th, I attended the North Coast Air Quality Management District meeting, which was held at the Flynn Center. That's a once-a-year event where we concluded our budget negotiations. That's the North Coast Unified Air Quality Management District's budget. And once again, there's a surplus there. So it shows that the agency is being run in an excellent manner, fiscally and professionally. Del Norte County's air is antiseptically clean and healthy. Burn permits are very well managed. I'm pleased to report the good news from the Air Quality District. Thursday, May 29th, I met with Brigadier General Turner and Lieutenant Colonel Baker of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, along with our Search and Rescue Director Terry McNamara at the Crescent City Harbor. The memorandum of understanding between the Corps and the county appears to be mutually acceptable. This letter will facilitate necessary jetty repairs so search and rescue workers can do their job efficiently. A big thank you to Search and Rescue Director Terry McNamara for his excellent work and being the point person between the Army Corps and Del Norte County to effectuate these jetty repairs very soon. Monday, June 2nd, members of the city, the Coastal Commission, and veterans met at the S-Curve to discuss appropriate trees surrounding the approval of the Point of Honor Memorial. Progress is being made at Patriots Point. Tuesday was election day, and I assisted in poll watching within District 1. All poll workers, along with County Elections Clerk Alicia Northrup and her staff, did a great job. The only down point I'd have to point out is the modest turnout, even though Del Norte County was high for the turnout at 47%, out of 46%, I should say, of Del Norte County's 12,350 voters who are registered. A number was abysmally low throughout the rest of the state, and it's puzzling, but I'm hoping, and I know it will change in November, but it's puzzling that people do not exercise their right to vote at a higher percentage level for the June primary. Thursday, attended the monthly meeting of the Republican Women Federated, helped them set up their Saturday garage sale at Ace Hardware. Friday, finalized the agenda for the Del Norte Solid Waste Management meeting. Tomorrow, commissioners will be discussing R3 Consultants' final report in preparation for establishing short and long-term goals for the authority. And I see that prayer is still on the board of many, our Board of Supervisors. The triplicate is conducting an online poll, which currently shows about 70% of those taking the survey agreed that the Board of Supervisors should conduct an open, non-denominational public prayer before its meetings. That's my report.
Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yes, thank you. Supervisor Sullivan and I attended an ad hoc meeting with staff as well as the city council, a couple of city council members and healthcare district members to discuss the issues over Sutter Health and the hospital. We later had the same group later had a meeting with Mike Cohill, who is the West Bay Regional President of Sutter Health. So we had some spirited discussion and trying to come to some sort of solution there. Hopefully we will come up with something. Had an LTCO meeting. As you're aware, there's an injunction against the work on 197, 199, so we're trying to come to a solution on that. I was invited to a Rotary meeting where we had a presentation on the bridge, from the Bridge District, the Golden Gate Bridge District. It was pretty interesting, the way they're collecting tolls now, and they've got a lane barrier, a movable lane barrier now that's going in, as well as working on a suicide net. So that project is coming before them. I attended the Map of the Movies ribbon cutting ceremony, which was kind of neat. You can probably pick up a flyer down at the chamber office down on Front Street. Kind of neat. Had a meeting with Jessica Glass, who is Senator Feinstein's representative. I invited her to come up some time ago, and we had some discussion on issues that affect Delmar County. Excuse me. And she was going to see what she could do for us there. I went to and participated in the U.S. Forest Service fire season, pre-fire season meeting, where we had a presentation from a person from the National Weather Service who says the outlook is not particularly good. Very dry conditions, as you know. It looks like they're going to have some real issues on their hands. They talked about staffing and response capabilities, and then we went through a wildfire scenario, which was pretty interesting. It was nice to be a participant, although I didn't have much input. It was a little out of my league. Also, Supervisor McClure asked me to check into this guide to the Northern California MPAs, and the Fish and Wildlife had already distributed them throughout town, although some of the businesses were out of them. England Marine was out, I know, and I think staff was going to check and see if anybody else was out. I did get a box of them, and I'm going to try to replenish those that I know about that are out. And that was it for me.
Very good. Supervisor Sullivan.
Thank you. I attended the two ad hoc meetings also with Supervisor Hemmingson, with the two representatives from the city and two from the healthcare district. Also had a follow-up meeting with the healthcare district, two members of the same group, basically, with the president of Sutter, Mike Cohill, to answer Q&A. Interesting discussion, a lot of informative stuff within the discussion, and we'll see where we go from here. Chaired a transportation meeting. Once again, we're continuing to push forward on Highway 199's project. For a lot of folks, it's been delayed we lose at least one construction season, maybe two. It'll cost the community a couple $1 million in the process, and you have the Friends of Delmar to thank for that. The project is still going forward, and that's what the commission is still working on. Also attended the ribbon cutting for the Map of the Movies, and what the Map of the Movie does, basically there's placards through Delmar County. I think do you remember, was it like 10 or 11 spots? Anyway, yeah, there's about 10 or 11 spots of where they filmed E.T., Return of the Jedi. So the big movie buffs, if they want to come up and have their picture next to the placard, there's a map, the Chamber's got them, and there's a couple other locations in town. You can see where they filmed it and go take your picture with it, as well as there's a barcode on it that you can scan your phone if you've got a smartphone, and it will give you some more details on. So it's another push to get some more tourism going here locally and to recognize the importance of getting movies here and the impact they do have on the community. Also attended the same Rotary meeting for the representative from the Golden Gate Bridge District, talking about, as Supervisor Hemmingson mentioned, you no longer physically pay a toll when you go over the bridge. There's several different ways, but they're doing it electronically, and they're going to send you drive over, they're going to send a bill to your address of the, so be careful when you lend the kids the car to go over the San Francisco Bridge. You may have a toll that comes your way. So anyway, and what they found, which I thought was cool, is some of these other bridges have really had a problem with stop and go traffic, and they've been able to get the Golden Gate so traffic keeps at a consistent speed. So you're not being jammed up, that they continually get you through there. So some innovative stuff, and as Supervisor Hemmingson mentioned, they're putting a barrier just to give people more comfort basically when they go through there, so there's not that cross, potential for accidents and stuff. There was for those of you who read the paper, there was some erroneous information on the solid waste report that we commissioned had done. The correct figure is $29,000 was stolen and embezzled, not $9,000 as the triplicate erroneously reported on that. So it was nice to get some kind of conclusion. Unfortunately, we still don't know, and there's no smoking gun to say who actually took the money, but it was stolen, and the correct figure is $29,000. On a light, oh, by the way, just a moment to congratulate Supervisor Hemmingson on his election. Congratulations on another 4 years. Yeah. And one other lighter note, this weekend, a good friend of mine that I grew up with, Greg Yeager, got married to Suzanne Layton, and I had the honor of being one of his groomsmen. It was a great ceremony at a little vacation rental called the Emerald Estates, which is off of Parkway. You would be surprised if you drive down there. It's way back in there, and it's a pretty nice place. But I want to congratulate them and wish them many happy years in the future. So that's it.
Good, thank you. I also had a few meetings. I went down to Sacramento, met with the State Association of Supervisors staff rather than fellow supervisors, talked about budget hearings, talked about the different categories, whether it be AB 109, whether it be social services money, grants, roads, the Army Corps of Engineer with the levee vegetation, clean water, all the stuff that is going to come to a head here prior to the budget being decided on Friday. So got a heads up on a lot of that and talked about some strategies. Came back and met with Supervisor Hemmingson and Senator Feinstein's staff person. Nice meeting. She was very engaging. She was the lead person on staff in dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers, which was nice. She also deals with the FAA. So there's a lot of the issues like Red Mountain and the airport that she is going to be dealing with on our behalf. Had a meeting at the Family Resource Center with the First Five Director as well as the new probation chief, and talked about kids and talked about the recidivism rate, talked about how First Five can be more engaging and more proactive. It had a very, very good meeting. Had agenda review as always. I voted, and congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to everybody that ran. It takes a special kind of person to sacrifice themselves for the abuse that they may not know that is coming. But I think that if you, without pontificating on anything, I think if you look at the results, there was this very distinct message there, and it was nice that people got out and voted. Had a meeting with the airport JPA, and we are on track there. We did receive resignation, not a resignation, but a retirement notice that our airport director is going to be retiring, so we're going to float that job. He's still with us, and then we anticipate that we will be contracting with him as part-time annuitant, I think is what they call it, to where we can contract with him on specific jobs. I also met with Mike Cohill from the hospital. He requested that I meet with him and Supervisor McClure. Had a very informative meeting. Met with Danaka, not met with, I was asked to participate in a ceremony for Danaka. They had a graduation and was pleased to be able to present Glenn Duncan, who was the recipient of an award, to present him with the California Medal of Distinction, which was real good. I mean, great kids. The arts in our youth something that should be encouraged, especially at a time when there's so many cuts in school programs. Other than that, spent a lot of time out in public, didn't shy away from anything, had lots of constituents, as well as visits, emails, texts. Every single one of them to a T was nothing but supportive. I won't comment on any of their other issues, and it was very nice. That's it.
I just had one other thing. I did attend the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority meeting also, but I attended the North Deal meeting, which was a meeting with Caltrans. I rode down with Lieutenant Mike Riddell, and most of the discussion was on the 197, 199 STAA access. And Caltrans is not giving up on this. They're not just setting aside. They're pushing hard to get this project through and to save the funding for that project, even though it may be delayed. They discussed all the projects in Humboldt and Del Norte County, and there's a pretty good group there that discuss these things. And we talked a little bit about last chance grade and other projects. And they haven't forgot about us up in Del Norte County. They're pushing forward with it. They're hoping to have this issue resolved as quickly as possible.
Yeah, the Deal Committee is a great committee. It has environmental groups, it has Caltrans, it has engineers, it has environmental groups, and it also has supervisors from Humboldt, Del Norte, and the Highway Patrol. So.
Yeah, I think I finally got the definition for it. It's the Director's External Advisory Liaison Group.
And we usually
includes
understand
the
that
trades,
about
too.
the time it is that we're off that
Yeah,
committee.
there you
It takes that long. Very good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to the consent agenda. I am going to tell you that item number 6 is going to be pulled for discussion. It's not going to be pulled for another meeting. We will discuss it at this meeting, but right now I would like to get a motion on the consent agenda minus item number 6, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Public comment on any item on the consent agenda.
Just one comment, and I'm going to have to find it here. Number 18 on the consent agenda, that is the MOU with the Army Corps of Engineers. I'd like to thank Roger Gitlin and for supporting and assisting me. This has been over a year-long process to make it safer for our search and rescue folks when we go out there in emergencies. And I thank the board for considering this. The other thing, in the MOU that you guys have before you, there's a no trespass clause. I want you to know that is just there for you if you need it. That's specifically put in there. I realize we're opening up a can of worms if we ever say no trespassing on the jetty, but that option is there should the board want to follow up on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on the consent items only? Yeah. Okay, then we're going to bring it back to the board. Any questions for the discussion? Poll the vote, please.
Supervisor Sullivan.
Yes, minus 19. I have a conflict of interest on that.
Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin.
Yes.
Chair Finigan.
Yes. And now we'll go back to item number 6, which is that we pulled for discussion. And council, do you want to explain or Jay, do you want to explain why we pulled this?
There were some minor changes, and also the item for today should have actually been on the public hearing, but as set as a public hearing. The minor changes will require that we pull it and then reintroduce it and then put it on for a public hearing at the following meeting. Any clarification regarding the changes, I believe we have counsel here that can speak to those if the board has any questions.
So to let the public know, this was the ordinance for the Board of Supervisors imposing a transaction or sales use tax for the purpose of funding the Del Norte County Fairgrounds for a period of 7 years. Do you want to give some clarification? So what I'm hearing is that we cannot take action today, that what we had last time was the public hearing when we introduced it, or we read the...
It was introduced and the first reading was waived. What we would like to do is reintroduce it with the changes, the amendments today, and then get direction to set it for a public hearing at the next meeting. It has to be timed, and it also has to be a public hearing because it's an ordinance, and we have just enough time to do that.
Okay. Public comment on that, Randy, out of respect, or Martha?
I'd just like to point out the changes that are different from what's actually published in the agenda packet. Section 3.07.40 talks about the restricted use of the tax. We've added, in addition to maintenance operations, also improvements. We don't want to, if there's enough money to make necessary improvements to the fairgrounds, we don't want to prevent the board from being able to do that. Also, this limits any county administration fees to 1% of gross tax revenues. And we clarified the termination date because it appears that the earliest it will be able to be enacted would be April 1st, 2015, instead of setting a termination date of January 1st, 2022. We decided to just change that to 7 years from the operative date. So if for some reason April 1st doesn't work and we have to get bumped to the next quarter, it would be 7 years from whenever it's actually implemented. But those are the three changes.
All right, so this will be scheduled for a timed item for a public hearing at our next board meeting, which is 2 weeks from today.
Do we need a motion to reintroduce?
We would like a motion.
I would move that we waive full
Second.
reading and reintroduce ordinance 2014-009.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Public comment. Back to the board. Pull the vote, please.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Sullivan?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Chair Finigan?
Yes. So to let the public know what's going on, as well as the Fair District, is we've waived the first reading. The second reading, by which it now can be passed, will be also incorporate a public hearing agendized and timed at our next board meeting. Okay? So it's not a 4-week delay, it's 2 weeks. No. Okay? Good. Moving on. How about a report from the County Administrative Officer?
Over the last couple of weeks, we've been focusing on the requested budget as we typically would be, and we're getting ready to prepare that memo for the deadline on the 24th of June. Presently in deficit on the request, and that is generally typical of this part of the process, and then we will have to be balanced by the end of September, 2nd of October. We've been working on negotiations on the public defender's contract, on the nurse's contract, and I attended the healthcare ad hoc with the supervisors, also met with Senator Feinstein's representative, had numerous calls regarding potential legislation and assistance from our federal advocate, and have also been in negotiations with the Sheriff Employees Association amongst dealing with other issues that pop up from different departments.
Good, thank you. This time we're going to take the budget transfers, and I would ask you to take them all at the same time, items 20 through 23, which is budget transfer 0509, 010, 0601, and 0602.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Public comment on any of these budget transfers? Okay, back to the board, and poll the vote, please.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair Finigan?
Yes. Let's go ahead and take item number 30, which is to discuss a donation of a computer to the Del Norte County Law Library as requested by the county law librarian.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any public comment on this? Back to the board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. We're still about a minute early, so how about let's consider any miscellaneous legislative and budget matters pertinent to the County of Del Norte. Authorize the chair to sign and send appropriate letters with respect to matters pending before the state or federal governments.
No current letters today, but we are following a number of legislative actions or potential. Everything from reassessment of commercial property values, which is AB 2372, has to deal with commercial property and ownership percentages. Obviously, the water bond is a big topic of conversation. If anybody wants to review that, that's AB 1331, AB 2686, and then Senate Bills 848 and 1250. And we're also looking into and following AB 1373, which is an expansion of the period of time that a police officer or firefighter, primarily for us it's police officers, can file workers' comp cases. It goes from 240 weeks to actually 420 weeks. So we're following that and to see where it might fall out. Generally not our biggest concern, but it does have a potential effect over the number of years.
Okay. I can tell you that a lot of the conversations I've been having on a daily basis have been with CSAC staff regarding the budget. Everything in Sacramento right now is about the budget. All the issues, all the asks, the $100 million on the starting the payback of monies that was borrowed from counties by the state prior to 2004, prior to 1994, actually. Asking for an early payback. There's $900 million. There's almost $1 billion owed there. This payback's supposed to start next year. We're asking the legislature to do it. The problem is that the President Pro Tem wants more money allocated for early childhood mental health issues and early childhood education, and so it's between the governor and the leadership as to what gets prioritized. So it's a poker game right now. So stay tuned. A lot will happen before Friday. This time we're going to go ahead and take public comment. Any member of the public may speak to the board on items that are within the purview of the board. And I'd ask you to try to limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good morning. I'd like to ask that you consider having the non-denominational prayer in keeping with the recent Supreme Court decision based on the history of this nation and the practice of our forefathers, whose work resulted in the Constitution, which has become modeled throughout the world and changed completely the way that people have governed themselves and are governing themselves. This Constitution has resulted in the nation becoming a leader and a refuge for the preservation of human rights, including religious freedom. This non-denominational prayer, of course, is not obligatory on any person, and it is only in keeping with the historical foundation of our nation.
Thank you. Next, please.
Mike Wiley, want to talk about what Callie Martin just talked about just for a minute, talking about the way people govern themselves. You're all duly elected to represent. My question is, where does the assumed authority to prevent one elected official from presenting and putting something on the agenda come from? Is it in your charter? Is it just your say-so? If he has just as much authority as you do as an elected representative, why is it not on the agenda? Thank you.
Simply stated, board policy.
I'd like to get that number.
The CAO will be happy to accommodate you. Next, please.
Victoria Dickey. Supervisor Finigan, you are my representative. I believe you should have the right to vote on this issue, but I do believe that you should be putting it on the ballot, and the issue is, right now, prayer. It could be road department work. It could be any of these issues that come up that affect us all. I respect the fact that you will vote no, but I don't think that your single vote should determine what the rest of the board is required to be able to vote on. You may prevail, and I have no problem with that, but I do have a problem with you not allowing it to go forward. So I'm very disappointed.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Betty Belitz. I'm not a speaker. However, I agree with the gentleman who spoke and with Callie Martin. We are being represented, and everyone should have that right to be represented. Thank you.
Next, please. Public comment?
A little nervous, to be honest. Good morning. I have 3 minutes, right?
Go ahead and introduce yourself for the record.
My name
please.
is Lisa McCowan, and I'm a local State Farm agent. And I want to thank you all for your service, and I want to thank you for this time. I want to apologize. And Jerry, I'm in your district. You don't know that, but you've done a great job. I want to apologize because I've only been here to ask for money for the Chamber of Commerce. It's the only time I've ever been here, so I want to apologize for that. So we have good news and bad news. The good news is I've resigned from the Chamber of Commerce for personal reasons, so I'm not here to ask for money. The bad news is it frees me up to speak my mind on different issues. And I'm one mad little Portuguese girl right now, just so you know. Mike, I want to congratulate you. And you deserve this time off, and you've done a great job. I'm here to talk about 3 things because I have 3 minutes. I kept silent before because I knew it would be unhealthy for the chamber to have 2 board members that are on opposite sides of the fence. I'm afraid you know exactly what that's like. I believe you know firsthand. It seems to be Roger's model. Division, strife, and poking hornet's nest. You have, along with others, beat the drum against the hospital to the point that I hear it in my sleep. That's your right. But when you held a town hall meeting against them the evening they had their annual mixer, I was mad about it. And I want to tell you, had I been president, you would have been removed. And I know there's a protocol, so I couldn't have done that on my own, but I'm one heck of a sales lady, and I would have won that battle. My belief is not that any chamber board member should be going publicly against another business. It infuriates me. I think it's bad business, and quite frankly, it's bad manners. The second reason I'm here. What you won on, Roger, was a lie. Take a bite out of blight. You have used the poor to take a bite out of blight. Notice none of them are here today to back that statement up. You know why? Because they're afraid. Quite frankly, they're uneducated and they don't know they could come up against you. But there's a difference between me and you. Outside of Jerry, these men, they know me. They know me to be a God-fearing woman. They know me to be a praying woman. And they know I would not stand here with this Bible in my hand and tell a lie on you. That's what they know. Which segues why I'm here for the third thing. Really? You're going to use this board to talk about God and prayer. So here's a little heads up for you. And you're only doing it to cause more discord, more division, more strife. That's just who you are. I'm going to tell you something. You brought clergymen in here. You used clergymen to grandstand. It disgusts me. If you knew the Word of God, you would know that in 2 Timothy 4:2, it says to be ready in and out of season. Indulge me. Pray, Roger. Prayer's important to you. Let me hear you pray. No? I'm ready in and out of season. It says in Matthew 6, there are 3 things that God honors, and these are the only 3 things that God honors doing in secret. Fasting, giving, and praying. So I implore you to know that what they do in the chambers is enough. And if you read the Word of God, you would know that.
Lisa, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up.
Okay, I'll end with this. I am a praying woman. Heavenly Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus, and I rebuke what this man is doing. I rebuke what he's doing on this board. I rebuke the division and strife that he's caused. And I thank you for giving me the wisdom and the words to be up here in front of these people today. And Roger, I hope that God pricks your heart and you stop all this bull crap in the name of Jesus.
Thank you, Lisa.
Amen.
Any other public comment? Okay. And we're back to the business of the board. I actually don't usually do this. There was a letter that was sent to myself and to Supervisor Gitlin saying that this person was unable to attend the supervisors meeting. It was from John Mertz, but asking that this letter be read as his public comment. As one of approximately 20% or so who have religious beliefs other than Christian or little or no such beliefs, and this is not my view, this is his view, this is his letter. I object to the including of any sort of religious prayer observance during the supervisors' meetings. The U.S. Supreme Court City of Greece versus Galloway, in essence, says that there is a tradition of violating the First Amendment ban on the establishment of religion, then that violation can continue. In other words, praying. Including such religious practices forces us all to either at least tacitly be part of the practice or be conspicuous by absenting ourselves during the practice. Either way, religious discrimination. There's a simple, easy alternative. All those who wish to have a religious practice do so before the meeting and outside the board chambers. John Mertz, Crescent City. With that, I don't see any other public comments, so we're going to go ahead and go to our 10:30 timed item.
Chair Finigan, may I respond, please?
No, it was public comment.
You made a public comment, too, and the person is not here.
Excuse me, sir. 10:30 timed item. We're going to waive the full reading. We're going to read by title only and introduce the proposed ordinance to amend Chapter 10.04.04 of the Delaware County Ordinance relating to speed limits on Cooper Avenue from the city limit to Inyo Street as requested by the Director of Community Development. Usually, these are the most controversial issues that come before us. As you know, the 85th percentile and setting, lowering, or raising speed limits. Heidi, what do we got here?
Good morning. This is a follow-up to our April 22nd meeting where we revealed the results of our, what do we call this? Engineering and traffic survey for a number of county roads. This was at the request of CHP, and in order for them to do radar on county roads. The determination of the engineering division was that of the roads reviewed, only one of them actually warranted a change, which was Cooper Avenue from the city limit to Inyo. And so what you have before you is the ordinance, and this is the first process in taking it forward in order to get a final determination. And if staff recommendation goes forward, then we would post new signs at the conclusion of the process.
Okay, so we're looking for a speed reduction from 35 to 30?
That is correct.
Okay, and just for those people that aren't aware of where the city limits are, and they know where Inyo is, because Cooper dead ends.
I believe the city limit would be, once you pass the road division traveling up
The top of the hill?
to the top of the hill, it would be in that area.
Okay.
At J and Cooper.
Okay. Going to ask for a motion first before we open discussion.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Public comment. Any public comment on this? No public comment on reducing the speed limit? Okay, back to the board. The only question I have is, they said that several were studied. Can you tell us what some of the ones were that didn't meet the requirements to have a change? Were there several? One, two?
You mean other roads that we were?
Well, it said that we
reviewed?
had, this was the only one that hit the 85th percentile that warranted a change.
Let me check. I would have to look at the board report from April 22nd. There were 7 or 8, and I
Well,
can't
okay.
recall
Yeah, it was in
the
the board.
precise.
Okay, so that was those that were in the report.
Yeah, they were
Perfect.
similar.
Okay.
Street.
Other board questions, comments?
I have a question. Heidi, could I just ask you for clarification purposes? Now, we're talking about 35 down to 30 miles per hour. Is that for the entire length of Cooper?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. I just want to clarify that everybody knows that slower speed is better.
Any other comments? Okay, go ahead and poll the vote, please.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair Finigan?
Yes. Number 28, and I see some people that are still sitting waiting for something to happen, and it happened on the consent agenda. It passed. We're welcome to have you stay here and enjoy it. Number 28 is to authorize and approve the acceptance of the property known as Bay Meadows after completion of the mitigation, followed by 5-year monitoring and maintenance. It's number 28, and staff report, please.
Susan Doherty, Border Coast Regional Airport Authority. As was discussed at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, the Bachroy is going to be purchasing and using for required mitigation the property known as Bay Meadows. As part of our permit conditions from both Coastal Commission and Army Corps of Engineers, Bachroy is offering the property to the county at no cost for the land once the mitigation and the 5-year monitoring period is complete. The property is 82.4 acres, and the transfer would take place in a little over 6 years. Along with the acceptance of the property, long-term maintenance for the property must be budgeted for. There's a letter attached with the board memo that states that Bachrow will provide maintenance staff and budget funds to cover that long-term maintenance to the extent that it's anticipated to be needed, as long as the county retains the property in the same condition that it's turned over in. In other words, if the county should choose later to add trails or something like that, that would have to be negotiated as far as, excuse me, any additional fees that would be added on for that. The coastal permit had required that we turn the property over to a responsible public agency. We approached California Department of Fish and Wildlife first. They rejected the property, feeling that it was too urban for their needs, and thus we came to the county. The Army Corps of Engineers has made it even more important that this be decided today and immediately. The conditions that we received from them, and this was draft conditions we received just last Friday, stated in 4A, the Bay Meadows commitment for Delaware County ownership/management by June 10th, 2014. Long-term management plan to be completed by, and that's blank. We believe that it'll be prior to us beginning the actual mitigation. And Del Norte County title acquisition by December of 2020, following the 5-year monitoring. Long-term management plan will involve trash pickup and vandalism repairs. And a long-term or a written agreement will need to be put together for long-term management and an agreement between the two entities. And that would be coming up in the future. Questions?
Any questions from board members? Can I get a motion on this matter?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Public comment? No? I just would like to let you know that I think it was already brought up that, number one, there is a letter from the Board of Supervisors, to the Board of Supervisors from the Border Coast saying that it would be at no cost to the county, that the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority would absorb any costs and maintenance, number one. Number two, a lot of you are probably wondering why the Department of Fish and Game is not the governmental entity that this went to, and because they are the ones that are taking it in Pacific Shores, and their reasoning is that it is too urban for them. Go figure. But anyway, so this is what we have.
Didn't they acquire some property right next to that?
Yes, sir, they did.
Okay, I don't think I follow the logic.
No,
but-
there is no
Okay.
logic in this process, except to stall.
Oh.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, poll the vote, please.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Gitlin?
Yes.
Supervisor Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair Finigan?
Yes. We're just a little bit early, so let's take an easy one. Let's take 31, which is to sign the Smith River National Recreation and Travel Management Plan. Randy? I want to preface this by just saying excellent
Did you
work.
say this was an easy one?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's less than 5 inches thick, Randy.
Yeah, I know, we're getting there. Give it a little more time. So basically, CDD was directed to review the proposed travel management plan that was put out by the Forest Service. As such, we started with the review of the plan and the maps. We met with members of the public. Through that process, we received input from those members of the public as well as the search and rescue coordinator. We consolidated essentially those concerns under 5 headings, which you can see in your letter. Identified conflicts with the county general plan, specifically had to do with recreation, impacts to public safety, impacts to access to areas of local historic significance, errors and inconsistencies in the plan, as well as a failure to coordinate their planning efforts. And through the identification of those 5 general headings, we developed a letter. Has to go out today, similar to the previous item. We've kind of been put in a tight spot. We didn't get the extension of time that we had requested from the Forest Service, so again, that's why this is on the agenda today, is a letter that has to go out today.
And I just want to put a little footnote there that our electeds, our congressmen, state senators also asked that they honor our request for an extension, and it was, so it was denied.
I'm going to move to approve, and then we can...
Second.
Hey, Randy, great job,
Thanks.
by the way. This was one of the best ones I've seen written. It hit the bullet points exactly the way it was. One typo on conclusion. There, you had in the first paragraph under conclusion that it's the opinion of the Board of Supervisors that had the forest, and I think you meant to put service in there, and just left service out, so it was just the forest. So I don't think...
Actually, if you look at
That's
the
what they
management
call
plan
themselves.
itself,
Is that
that's
what
how
they
they
call
refer to
themselves?
themselves. So throughout our comment letter, we tended to follow what they had
Okay.
set up. They refer to themselves as the forest, so that's what we did too.
We're the county, they're the forest.
Can you see the trees through the
Speak for
forest?
the trees.
Yeah, good job, Randy. I think
Good
Very
job,
good.
Randy. Good job.
I'm going to ask for public comment on this. Okay, back to the board. I will note that the public has been extremely supportive of the position of this board and the arrogance, if you will, of the Forest Service in listening to our requests for even a delay or to be engaged in the consultation and communication as per the MOU with the county, Regional Council of Rural Counties, and the Forest Service and the State Association of Counties and the Bureau of Land Management.
Just a point of information. How many years has this been going on? Is it 8 or 9 years that they have not been able to get their travel management plan together? Just the complete lack of cooperation with the local community in there, and their final decisions have been overturned numerous times, and it's going to be the same one with this one. So eventually, at some point, they'll get their act together. We hope.
Okay. Poll the vote, please. Well,
Supervisor-
actually, you don't need to poll the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And let's run into our 10:45 timed item, which is a presentation by Cassandra Heseltine, and correct me if I said that wrong. Cassandra is the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce representing the Map of the Movies project.
Film commissioner, I think,
Humboldt Delaware.
title.
Okay, so why don't you tell us what your title is, Cassandra?
Yeah, I'm the film commissioner for Humboldt and Delaware Counties, and I'm the executive director as well, because it's a nonprofit.
Okay.
And I am here, yes, to tell you about the latest project that we've been working on, which is called Map of the Movies, which Board of Supervisors Sullivan's been helping out with. And I'm also going to let you know a little bit about the Film Commission, because it's been a long time since I've spoken in front of the Board of Supervisors, since I'm here. So really quickly, most of you probably already know what a film commissioner does, but the short of it is we are the liaison between filmmakers and the counties that we represent. So when a filmmaker wants to come to town and they need permits or locations or vendors or crew or any of those kind of things, we help them out with that. We also help promote and market the area so that to the professionals so that they know and are aware of what we have to offer. And we help local vendors and crew and kind of foster them to be film friendly so they know how to work with the different film productions when they come to town. So that's our biggest objective. All of that helps obviously with the economic boost that we get from film. So that's the point of doing something like this. There's two kinds of dollars that come in from film productions when they come to the area. One is called direct dollars and one is called indirect dollars. And the direct dollars is things that they use specifically for the shoot. So the hotel costs, the location costs, renting a car, all of those things that have to do with having the shoot. The indirect dollars is the spending by the cast and the crew that they do afterwards. Like for instance, they don't get dinner. They always get breakfast and lunch on set. They all have to go out to dinner afterwards. They might go purchase gifts, have a day off. There's a lot of extra money that ends up coming in, and according to film analysis, actually for every $1 they spend directly on a film, it really translates into $3 by the time that they're done. So this was up to date for up to about 3 weeks ago. I haven't been able to load all the latest information in there. But this is for this fiscal year. We had about 58 inquiries, 1 scouting trip that came up here, and 3 film shoots. We had some big ones, even though we only had 3. We had Casio Watch come up, and Bing search engine for Microsoft came up, so that was great. We had some nice big productions, big in the sense of the company's name. They were smaller, so we still estimated our direct dollars around $5,000, which translated into roughly under $15,000 would be the economic impact after you use the multiplier for that. So what else have we done in order to help market and benefit on the economy of film? One of the things that we came up with was there was an old map called Map of the Stars that was in Humboldt County, and it only featured Humboldt County. It didn't really show you the directions of how to get there. It was an overall map, and it showed you, oh, Jennifer 8 filmed in Eureka, but it didn't tell you where. It told you a little bit about the movie, and we're really honored to have it. The late Tom E. Murray created it, and we were honored for what he was able to do in the 90s. But nowadays, we're able to have, Google Maps and have PDF version online, as well as we created markers that are actually at the location and directions on the map that show you how to get to these markers so that you can get to a location where E.T. was filmed or where Return of the Jedi was filmed, and that these fans, that movie enthusiasts, will actually flock to places like this. And what's great about this is called film tourism, so they come after a movie is shot. So it's great for us normally when we have film people come here and scout. It's great when they film here, for sure. But this is another way for us to capitalize on the economic boost or benefit of having film shoots here, is afterwards and having film tourists come to the area. They might come specifically for something like this, as in Return of the Jedi type fans, or they might stay an extra day once they stumble upon us because they were already coming to the area anyways. So this is another way for us to help make an economic boost. The outside of the map, as you can see on to the left, or actually I have a copy here too, is it's a brochure that just opens up. It has all the directions on how to get to the actual locations. And then when you open up the map, it tells you a little bit about the films. We've added Delaware County to the map, so that's what was really exciting, is it's a 2-county combination here. And you guys have some great ones on here with E.T. and Star Wars and Not a Moment Too Soon, which is the music video from Tim McGraw, which was really great. And you have some movies that I didn't realize Johnny Depp made Dead Man appear, which is one of those more unknown Johnny Depp movies, but it was really cool. So you have like the original Last of the Mohicans, which is pretty exciting too. So you have some pretty amazing movies. We recently launched it, and so this is a picture from the unveiling that we had at the Chamber with Jeff Palmer and my assistant, Anibal Polanco, who helped project manage the putting the whole maps together. This was a 2-year project for us to get 30 locations all on the same map, if you will. Board of Supervisor Sullivan came to one of the first meetings where we brainstormed the whole idea, and so it's been a while. And it was quite a feat to be able to get everybody together in all the locations to give us permission to put these markers and to be able to research all the different movies and to really organize the whole event and to get the maps completed. So we're pretty excited. So I think it was roughly last week or 2 weeks ago, we had a launching both in Humboldt and then in Delaware County, releasing the whole thing. So pretty excited about it. Some of the other things that we're going to be doing, this one is really exciting. This is the first time that we're going to be holding a FAM tour, which is a familiarity tour, where you bring up industry professionals to the area to show them what we have to offer. And Humboldt County's never done it, and Delaware County's never done it, so this is really exciting for us. We are bringing up 9 industry professionals from LA. Some of them will be studio executives, some of them will be location managers who work on all kinds of different shoots. And we'll be showing them both counties and taking them to the great stellar locations that we have, showing them the hotel kind of accommodations, the restaurants. We'll introduce them to some local crew. And basically, we'll just really show them everything that we have to offer for 3 days. And it's one of the best tools of being able to show the industry what you have to offer. Obviously, we do a lot of photographs and videos, but it's not the same thing as seeing a redwood in person. And so we're really excited. We're going to be holding that the first weekend of September. And so that's underway. We just signed the deal for the private airline for them to come up, and we're really excited to get this going. We've been doing some other things this year. One of the things that we did is we rebranded ourselves. We used to have the name of Redwood Region Entertainment Education Liaisons Incorporated. And the acronym was REAL. I inherited the name. I did not make the name up. And then we had 2 branches under that nonprofit name, and it was Film Humboldt and Film Del Norte. And it became very confusing within my own counties, let alone outside of the counties, for people to know what we were or what we were doing and what our name was. And so in the press, it would be all kinds of different versions of those names. We finally got smart, and I begged my board of directors to change the name back to a simple version, which just says where we are and what we do, Humboldt Del Norte Film Commission. And what's been great about that is the branding that comes with that is both names are right there. So it doesn't matter if we're answering the phone for a Humboldt location, Del Norte gets represented, and vice versa. So there's just this great, reciprocal marketing that happens every time we market either county. They end up being basically marketed at the same time, the whole time, so it's great. We also did a newsletter that we started about a year or two ago, and we did a makeover, and it's been really great. We've got a lot of feedback from that. It goes out to over 400 location professionals, and they love receiving this. We've had people actually respond and say, hey, I'm working on a shoot. Thanks for this newsletter. Thanks for sending some pictures of your area. I'm working on a shoot. Do you have something like this? And so that's been exactly what we want it for. I'm part of a FLIX board, which is the film liaisons in California statewide. It's all the film commissioners in California. And they don't even have their own newsletter, so I'm pretty excited to be ahead of the game. They're just starting to figure out that they need to do a newsletter. And these are emailed newsletters, so it's pretty exciting. We've had some worldwide press with After Earth last year when the DVD came out, and it was nice because they mentioned both Humboldt and Del Norte County, so that was really nice, and about the redwoods that are up here. Again, having both counties has made it really nice because when one receives press, the other often does too. This year, because I had more funds for marketing, this is the first year that we actually had marketing funds, I was able to visit more studios and film professionals when I do my LA trips, when I go down to the trade shows or the award show that we put on. So that was exciting. There I am on Warner Brothers Studio visiting a producer. And we've also been able to increase our location photos. This summer, we're really going to be increasing our location photos, which is, again, the normal, usual way of showing people your area. We've been also featured in this magazine, which is the first time. This is a magazine that's normally international. It's called Location International usually, but this is the first time that they're doing one that's called Location California. And what was really exciting about this one is that the Film Commission, our particular office, is mentioned in there twice. They did an article on the feature films that filmed in California this year. So this is a picture of Humboldt Redwood State Park with for After Earth filming. And then they did a gallery of just great locations. And what was really exciting is they picked Del Norte. So that's lovely, yeah. And so for anybody else who wants to see. So that was really exciting. And this is actually for you guys. I brought this so that you can.
That picture of the lily fields almost looked like somebody's getting ready to do a remake of Grapes of Wrath.
I can't tell you nothing. No, I don't know. Let's see, where else am I? Oh, what's great about that magazine too is it goes out to Cannes, Sundance, Berlin International Film Festival. It's also going to be seen at the trade show that we're holding down in LA in 3 weeks, and it'll go out to all the film commissioners, not film commissioners, location scouts that are coming to that event. It was also passed out in April at the California Film Commission breakfast that they put on. So it's really widely seen by location professionals, so that's exciting. And let me just really quickly look at here. So in development, I don't even know what I wrote, but location video showcasing film-friendly locations and brochures. Oh yes, we're making brochures, that's right. Okay, so, and I put this together a couple weeks ago, and then it's so fun to get to look what I put on there. We are making, I'm very excited about this, we are making for the first time a video, and it will be 2 cuts. We'll have a 30-second cut, and we'll have a 2-minute cut, and it will show all the great locations in both counties. And this idea came from the Finland Film Commission, so a country put out a great video that I saw, and I got jealous and I wanted one. And so we are making one, and I think it's going to be great. We're going to use it on social media. We'll be able to put it on our website. We'll be able to forward it to people who are interested in looking at it, who want to see locations, and it's another tool of being able to showcase the area. The other thing too is we are working on a brochure. We have what is called a one sheet, which is an industry standard type of paper you pass out, but we've never had a brochure before, something that is targeted towards filmmakers. And so this is something that could go in different various places, including there's a prop house who gets a lot of indie filmmakers who comes in and he makes props for. He wants a brochure that he'll pass out and recommend us. He has one of our HSU alums is working for him, so he's really excited to promote the area, so we're creating a brochure for that. So some really good things that we've been doing marketing this year that we haven't done in the past. Oops, pushing the wrong buttons here. There's a little arrow. And here I am just attending. I don't know if you guys remember actor Perry King. He was great back in the 70s and 80s, and he played the president in The Day After Tomorrow. He was the MC for our last award show that we do. We do awards for location managers. The Film Commission FLIX, the group puts it on, so that was really great. So I've been able to attend with more marketing, I've been able to attend 5 events this year, which is taking me down to LA 4 times for the different events. In the past, I've only been able to go to LA twice, so that's really exciting. I only have a couple more slides here, and this one is really important. This is the AB tax incentive, AB 1839, and it just went through the Assembly. It is now going in front of the Senate, and this is a tax incentive that offers for the state of California, and it makes us finally competitive with Canada, Georgia, New York, all the other places that offer tax incentives, and we have what we call runaway productions. So state of California is losing the amount of productions it normally has. They're leaving and going to other places because with that tax incentive, even though they have to travel, they can shoot for less. And so what that means is we no longer have that stronghold of keeping our crew here, people are moving out of the area, the counties aren't benefiting by having production here. So the tax incentive, which would make us more competitive then, also gives an extra 5% if they shoot in California outside of Hollywood. So it's not just a Hollywood, LA tax incentive, it is really for the state of California. So we're pretty excited about this. We hope that it goes through. Lots of letters are being written right now in favor of it. If any of you are interested in doing anything like that, let me know. But it is right now going in front of the Senate, and it'll all be happening this summer. So hopefully it goes through, because I think it will definitely benefit us, and we'll be able to get some more shoot back to California, and definitely up into Northern California. We just lost a shoot in December. We had Ellen Page, the woman who played Juno. She was coming, her and the director and 2 others were going to come, and we were going to go scout redwoods. And it was for a film that takes place in Northern California in the redwoods.
Go figure.
And they're shooting it in Washington because they get tax incentives. So big reason why we need to have something like that pass. On a good note, we had a few things that happened this year that were really nice industry recognition that we had. I was nominated, or my office was nominated, for Outstanding Film Commission. This is the first year that the Location Managers Guild of America put on an award show, and so they had different location managers nominate for different categories, and one of the categories was Outstanding Film Commission. So Dow Griffith, who was the original location manager on After Earth, nominated me in the office, so that was really great. We didn't make it to the finalists, but we were nominated, and then the LMGA sent us what the nomination was, so that was pretty exciting to have that recognition. The board of, I'm now on the board of directors for Flix, which is the group that I mentioned before. They've asked me to be on the board, as well as they've asked me to be treasurer, which was really nice, because they asked me. So that means that they're recognizing, counties that are so far north outside of Hollywood as a viable player. So that's really nice to participate with them. So that's it. That's what I wanted to let you know what we've been up to for the past year.
Well, fantastic. Supervisors, comments? Supervisor Gitlin?
Cassandra, first of all, great job.
Thank you.
I know you've worked hard, and just without being too specific, because lots of deals are being made without parties known, but what's on the horizon for 2014, 2015?
I can tell you nothing. No,
Without
honestly.
being specific.
Without being specific, most of the time, the easy answer and the truthful answer is, most of the time we get these shoots that are like for television or, reality TV shows and commercials. They call me a couple weeks before. So unfortunately, it's not something that I normally know ahead of time. It's actually sometimes really startling, because they'll be like, "Oh, we're coming in a week and a half. Can you help me get a permit?" And it's just a rush and a flurry in the office. The only times that I really know a long term ahead of time is indie films. A lot of times might give me a couple months, and then big productions like After Earth give me a year. 1 year notice. But other than that, normally it's weeks out. So a lot of times I don't know what my year holds. That's what makes this job so exciting. I anticipate right now, in the past year, everybody throughout the county, because they polled everybody, filming has slowed down because they're leaving and going to other areas. But with this new tax incentive, I'm assuming that it's going to pick back up, and that we'll just continue to see more commercials coming back, which is our normal bread and butter, a lot of reality television. We have an indie film that's interested in Del Norte County right now, so there's that possibility if that can work out. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the horizon.
On a personal note, I can't tell you how disappointed I was with Redwood Highway, the movie that was
I haven't seen it.
Well, it seems to stop right at the Oregon border as they get to Brookings, and I
Yeah.
just hope there would be some filming along 199, 197, or 101 North, and it just kind of let down. I hope everyone who is planning on seeing it don't expect to see anything in California in it.
The
But-
filmmaker did email me and let me know about his movie, and he mentioned that it stops at the border, and I was like, oh, why are you telling me?
Were you involved in any conversation on that?
No, I actually just found out about it a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I had no idea, and I think because it was shot in Oregon. Yeah, it was outside my jurisdiction.
Jerry?
Good work.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, Cassandra, I appreciate the time you've been putting in. I know you've done dedicated quite a bit of time, and this, the map of the movies is just one example of it, and you've done a great job with it. And I know as resources get tight, having the ability to partner up with Humboldt County on this and share the commissioner has benefited both communities quite a bit. So great work, and it's always exciting to see when hearing more stuff come up. I know 11 Time of the Monsters was the big one that we've had, and I know that couldn't have happened without your work, so I definitely appreciate it. So
Thanks.
Excellent job, Cassandra.
Thank you.
I know Mike worked with the partnerships with you a lot, so credit needs to go there. As you know, a lot of the things we didn't know about, some of the great movies, and I think that maybe if some of the people who are making movies knew that the precedent is there for whether it's E.T. or whether it's, Star Wars or whatever, is out there, because as you know, in films, as in anything, imitation is the greatest form of flattery. And so maybe so for that, I thank you a lot. I expect a lot back. What we don't do as department heads and supervisors is tout our successes enough, and you are doing it in this venue, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Okay.
Appreciate that.
All righty.
thanks, Cassandra.
So with that, we are going to go ahead to an 11 o'clock presentation. Presentation by Kathy Smith, President of the College of the Redwoods, regarding our county campus. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thanks for this opportunity. I also have a PowerPoint, but I guess some of it's not working, so I'll try to skip over some of the detailed data there. Thank you. I do have some folks I want to introduce, but I also wasn't sure he's going to be here, but I want to recognize our trustee, Rick Bennett, sitting over here. So thank you for being here, and some students and former students. And there's probably more former students in the room than I know about, so fantastic. Thank you very much.
For a class or two.
Well, this is just a brief presentation about College of the Redwoods and what we're up to. I've got a little bit of stuff district-wide, but then about the Del Norte Center specifically. Just want to introduce myself a bit. I'm Kathy Smith, and I have been at College of the Redwoods for 2 years now. Originally from the Midwest, spent about 11 years in Colorado before coming to California. That was about 11 years ago. So I spent 9 years down at Mendocino College, where I was vice president and president of Mendocino College for Mendocino and Lake counties, and then came up here 2 years ago. I'm also a CPA by trade, which I did for about 10 years public practice before getting into education full time. So my, got to figure out how to use this. My first slide just talks about the different locations that we have, and that's a photograph here of the outside of the Del Norte campus building. But we have locations in Eureka, in Del Norte, in Mendocino, and Fort Bragg, Klamath Trinity, which is in Hoopa. We have a downtown site, and we have a site in Garberville. So I mention that because there's been a lot of questions and comments about how you run an operation that has so many areas, so many locations. And either you can centralize it or you can totally decentralize it. And I think the College of the Redwoods over its 50 years life has gone both ways on that. And at this point, our philosophy, because of a lot of things happening, but especially because of budget concerns, has gone to a more centralized operation. And my thought there is that as vice presidents who are with me here today, and president and deans and managers get to know the entire college district, what the needs are at each of their campuses, we're better able to make decisions. It doesn't get into as much of a competition between the centers and the sites fighting for the limited dollars that we have. So we're trying to bring some of those decisions in centrally so that we can make the best decisions we can for everybody in the district. We can talk about that more later. The next slide just lists my cabinet members, my administration. Again, I'm president and superintendent. We have Dr. Keith Snowflamer back here. Keith is our vice president of instruction and student development. He's in his 8th year with College of the Redwoods. He came from the Chicago area. Well, actually, he's an Air Force brat, he says, lived everywhere. But he spent over 20 years in higher ed. Our other vice president of administration is Lee Lindsay, and Lee's here as well. And Lee is in his fourth year with College of the Redwoods, and he's had 15 years in higher ed. And he spent a lot of time in higher ed in Oregon, and he's originally from Louisiana. And then we also have with us today Doug Edgman, and Doug is our accounting manager. Is that the right term? Accounting manager. He's in his 6th year. He has an MBA, and he was born and raised in Humboldt County, grew up in Fortuna and went to school in Ferndale. So that's who's with us today. The students at College of the Redwoods as a whole, we have about 9,000 a year, 2,500 full-time. A little over half district-wide are female. When we look at the Del Norte stats, a lot more than half are female. We've got the dispersion here as far as, well, over half of them are younger, under age 24, but our average age is 28 district-wide. There you see the ethnic dispersion, and interestingly, 25% of our students take a class online. Doesn't mean they're totally online, but they take at least one class online, and 70% of our students attend the Eureka campus. At Del Norte, whoops, skipped a slide there. Our strengths that I wanted to point out, the employees, absolutely, we have wonderful faculty. That's a picture of Mike Haley, who has been teaching math up here at the Del Norte campus for years. And wonderful staff members. When we get feedback from students who have gone to College of the Redwoods and have transferred on to four-year universities, et cetera, they always tell us how good the education was and how prepared they were for those transfer programs and for the job market. So I'm always impressed going into classrooms and watching our faculty. Our facilities are fantastic. You look at the campuses and the beautiful settings that they're in, the redwood trees and the lawn areas, they're just very beautiful settings. You go down to some of the colleges in San Francisco and LA and it's all concrete and cement, so we've just got great facilities that we're working on fixing up. And the communities that we serve have been very supportive, so we do appreciate the support that we have in the communities. The challenges, however, a couple of things, and I'm sure you've heard about them. Accreditation has been a challenge over the last few years. We are finally off of all sanctions, but it's been about 10 years of up and down, and we were on probation, we were on warning, we were off, we were on again, and so we finally got to the point in 2011 where the Accrediting Commission put the college on show cause, which is its most serious sanction. So it took us a couple years to work through that and get off of sanctions altogether, which we are right now. We do know that that affected enrollment some, as you'll see our enrollment decline a little bit. And then I also want to mention the budget cuts, the financial stability. We have, as the state went through a budget crisis, so did the college, so did most public entities, but we have done amazing work in the last couple of years on budgets. We have done a layoff situation district-wide. We've laid off we've eliminated about 35 positions over the last 2 years. Not all of those were full when we eliminated the position, but we have laid off, 17, 18 people over that time frame. We also are known throughout the state for the level of pay concessions that we received. Our unions voted for and our managers agreed to substantial pay cuts. The administrators took a 9% permanent pay cut. The faculty took an 8.7% permanent pay cut. The part-time faculty, I think it was 8%. Classified staff, I think, was 6.5%, somewhere in there. So everybody took pay cuts, and we have in those bargaining agreements agreements that pay will not be increased until a couple of things happen. One, our fund balance gets up to 6%. Right now we're at 5.3%. We were at 2 point something awful, which 5% is the minimum required by the state, and we were below that. So no raises until we get up to 6%, and no raises until there's a COLA given to the schools of at least 1.6%. And the first 1.6% the district will keep to cover costs that keep going up. Anything above that, we can talk about salary increases. So that was a major thing that the college has gone through the last couple of years. So a little bit about Del Norte. We actually have 65% females in the students at Del Norte. The average age just 27, which is 1 year lower than our average age district-wide. Ethnicity is about the same as district-wide, primarily Caucasian, but we do have Hispanic and American Indian students here. The student head count for Del Norte, as you can see by this chart, has gone down in the last 6 years, but it looks very close to what the districts looks like. So the top line, I think there are FTES, and the blue line are sections offered. So a little bit about enrollments going down over the last 6 years. Primarily we had the state budget crisis, and with the budget crisis, the legislature and thus the Chancellor's Office for California Community Colleges limited what we could do. We have a limited amount of money, so you are only going to be able to spend money, and they gave us 3 areas: basic skills, career technical education, and transfer programs. So all of the things that we used to consider lifelong learning, avocational classes, those things are lower prioritized, and if there's not money, that's what we have to cut out. And so we did lose students as far as those students that were taking some of the arts classes and the music classes and some of the things that they were taking for avocational reasons, not for degree reasons. So we lost students as we cut out those classes. We also have had new rules put in place for financial aid and repeatability. And a student now may only repeat a class 3 times. And after they've taken the class 3 times, they can't go back. And we did, again, lose enrollments there because students were taking classes. You could take art a lot of times and still continue to improve, but the state limited it to 3 times. There's also limits now on financial aid, how many hours total of financial aid through the federal government and state government you can receive. And so therefore, if you spend all of them at the community college, you won't have as many, as much financial aid at the university level to spend. So they're trying to get people in and out of the community college as quickly as possible. So that's cut down on our enrollments. So the Del Norte graduates, this might be too small of words to see, but the grand totals there tell it. Most of the students at Del Norte get an Associate of Arts degree. Behavioral Sciences, it's pretty a general degree that gets them into transfer opportunities at several schools. But the second largest area is the LVN program, either degrees or certificates in the LVN program. We are, as folks have asked, we are exploring ways that we might be able to offer an LVN to RN program up here, and as we work on remodeling the science lab, we want to make sure that we have that opportunity to offer the classes needed for an RN program as well. Then we get into the A, humanities, is also primarily a transfer general degree, and then we've got childhood education, early childhood education. There are other degrees on here, but not as many people getting those degrees. So I put a pretty picture of some students in there just to break up the charts, because my next few charts have to do with the K-12 and the high schools. And just a little bit of information about the Del Norte High School students that come to College of the Redwoods. So this is just the percent of students that enroll in College of the Redwoods within 1 year after graduating from high school. We kind of call this the capture rate, but it's how many students out of high school do we capture as first-year students at the college. And Del Norte High School is kind of on the low end of this as far as the number of students that come within their first year. But if we look at it several years out, then there's more of them coming back after they've taken time off to work or travel or whatever, and then they come back. The next slide, just look at the relativity between the orange and the blue and the green, and Del Norte is the third column there. But that has to do with how many students actually enroll in the college, and the blue and the green are how many actually complete a program or transfer. Many of the blue and green are the same people because they complete a program and transfer. So looking at numbers on that, on transfer, completion and transfer rates, the rates aren't wonderful, but they're better than some. We wish our rates for all of the high schools were larger, but this shows that, I can't read it very well, 361 Del Norte County high school students. Of those, then we had 18% that completed a degree, 13% that transferred. And that's not to say that they aren't getting what they want when they come. Many students won't actually complete a degree. They will come and take a few classes, whether it's in computers or whatever. They'll take a few classes and they'll get the job that they want, and they consider themselves successful and a completer, even if the state doesn't call them that. Next one has to do with financial aid eligibility. This is pretty typical, just an information that 72% of students from Del Norte High School qualify for BOG. That's the Board of Governors fee waiver. And what's that next one say? 52.9 qualify for federal Pell Grants. So pretty typical there. Then the next two slides quickly are just about placement and where the students from Del Norte High School place. It's fairly good comparatively, to the other schools on there, but not good at all overall. And we're working on changing the way we do math placement, trying to get students to make it easier for students to transition from high school to college in math and English. And English placement scores are here. Again, it's not great, but pretty much fits in with many of the other high schools that come to College of the Redwoods. So the last couple of slides, I want to talk a little bit about the bond measure that was passed in 2004. It was $40 million total. To date, we've spent $3.6 million at the Del Norte Center, and the science lab that we're currently working on is estimated to cost between $800,000 and $1.2 million. Depends upon how we go about completing that. We plan to have that completed next summer of 2015. Again, as we talked about, we want to make sure that we're planning for the future and that science lab has what it needs in it in order to meet the demands of the future programs that Del Norte County may benefit from having here. Initiatives, just briefly. Student Success Act, this is a statewide law that was passed, and it mandates that we do several things to help our students be more successful, so hopefully we'll see those rates going up. But that is requiring students to do things like have education plans where they sit with a counselor and plan out their educational career, requiring them to have orientations, requiring them to go through the assessment process to get into the right math and English, etc. I want to mention telepresence and the smart technology. We have been updating technology in all of our rooms, so the campus has been renovated in that we've got some smart classrooms there, and the new lab, of course, would be a smart lab. The telepresence is a technology that we're just starting to use. We're going to install the units coming up in the next few months, and that is where if we only have 2 or 3 or 5 students that need a particular class, but there's not enough here at this location to hire a faculty member to teach a class, we can participate via video, screens this big, and they can actually see the faculty member at another location, and the faculty member can see the students. And we're excited about implementing that because at all of our centers we have needs for higher level classes that we don't have enough students to take. We're going to see an increase in distance education. That's happening all over the country. We have adult education that is changing. The funding for adult education is going to be moving from the K-12 districts to the community colleges, so we're working with the K-12 districts on how that's going to look right now, and we're involved with the Del Norte High School. Community K-12 partnerships, again, and then the last one, the increased administrative presence. This goes along with my comment about centralizing more of our operations, and myself and my vice presidents and my deans and the other administrators have committed, and many of the managers have committed to having a presence here so that we are connected to this campus. So our plan at this point is that most of us will come up once a month, which means when we've got 10, 12 of us coming up once a month, that there will be somebody here a couple days every week so that you don't feel in Del Norte like you're the stepchild of the main campus. And I try very hard not to even use the word main campus, and that's my experience at other colleges as well. If we say the Eureka campus and the Fort Bragg campus and the Crescent City campus or Del Norte campus, it doesn't make you feel as much like a stepchild of the main campus. So that's some of our initiatives. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Supervisor Sullivan.
Go ahead.
And Supervisor Gitlin.
Kathy, first of all, nice to meet you. And
thank you.
You know, I'm looking at your charts, and I'm sorry to say we don't have it in front of us, so it's kind of straining to look at the statistics of vocational ed versus what I'll call academic programs. I mean, the old model is you go 2 years and you transfer to a 4-year school, and so many of our students today are going the other way into technical education. Are you adjusting the curriculum accordingly?
Well, what we are going to be exploring are what other vocational or career technical education, the politically correct term CTE, what programs we could offer up here. Right now, the primary ones that we have are nursing and early childhood education, but we don't have some of this space in the labs for some, and we want to explore whether there's a possibility to share facilities with the high school. So we're going to be talking about that. What programs do students want? What can we provide up here? We do have a program that's offered through our community ed, well, a couple of them down in Eureka that might not be as hard to transfer up here if the community has a need for them. One is truck driving, which we have been talking about, and then we have some things like phlebotomy and some other smaller programs. So that is definitely something that in the community K-12 partnership arena that we want to move forward on.
Jerry, Jimmy?
Yeah, I was curious about the positions. You said there was 35 positions that you've cut in what areas?
Oh, lots of areas. Some of them were faculty that retired. There was a retirement incentive for faculty 2 years ago, right before I came, and there were several faculty retirements that we did not replace for budget reasons. And then we did cut management positions and we cut classified positions as well. We've reduced the number of administrators. We did have 3 vice presidents, but I combined the vice president of instruction and student development for the time being, at least because of financial issues. We are eliminating an executive dean position as of this year, so it's been all over.
Yeah, excuse me. Got a frog in my throat or something. Yeah, I'm more concerned about the, excuse me, the future, and you kind of addressed that, so I appreciate that, but we don't want to go by the wayside like Fort Bragg. So we're real concerned about that.
I've heard that's a concern, but this is completely different demographics, different area. Fort Bragg had only about 250 FTES. Here at one time we had 500 FTES. It's gone down now. But the demographics down there were many more, the age down there of our students was much higher, many more seniors taking classes down there. So when we did away with the avocational classes and the repeatability issues, that really dropped their enrollment. Here, as we saw, over 50% are between the ages of 18 and 24. I don't think that you would ever run into the issues that Mendocino College or Mendocino campus ran into for College of the Redwoods. I don't see that as a problem whatsoever.
Thank you.
You mentioned size of the classes, or size of the student body, and I'm glad that you touched on that it has to do with classes being offered. And so it's sort of almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You start cutting classes, you know that it's going to go down. There's been problems in the past with representation. We got reapportioned. Rick used to have all of Delaware County, and Klamath and parts south all of a sudden found their representation in, I believe, Hoopa, or the same as Hoopa, Southern Humboldt, excuse me, Northern Humboldt. There is, I think the community recognizes there's 2 components to this. One is the educational package, to make sure that there's adequate classes to offer an education to people that want to continue, that don't have the opportunity to get on a bus or a car and go to Humboldt County. Your own graph regarding poverty showed that. I think the only one worse than us was Hoopa. But the other component is the economic driver. A good community college, junior college, if you will, is a significant economic driver in a community, and it says a lot about a community if you don't have a secondary type of education to offer to the constituents coming out of high school, or allowing some of the seniors in high school to participate in classes that could then cross over. So I guess it comes down to funding, which comes down to representation. How do we, in the Del Norte campus, become more autonomous to our own school when at a time when you're talking about regionalization and having all the decisions made down south?
No, not all the decisions made down south. It's a participatory system of making decisions where we include everybody at all of the campuses. So it's not made strictly by Eureka. But part of that is we're coming up here more to understand what the community needs are. We've been having lots more community meetings. You mentioned several things. One, definitely budget does affect the number of sections that are offered. And when the state cuts our budget, we have to cut our classes, and we have to offer the most demanded classes, which means some of them don't get offered. So you're right, we cut sections and enrollment does go down, absolutely. On the representation, you have an interesting comment, because the way the community college system works is that whatever trustee on the Board of Trustees, every single trustee represents the entire district. You are elected from a particular area, but your job is to represent the entire district. So you don't just represent the area where you live. You are there to make decisions for the district as a whole and not just for your area.
I get that, and I guess is what I'm advocating for is that there needs to be a greater recognition of the Del Norte needs because of our isolation, if you will, 80 miles, well, more than that. So what, 90 miles, 95 miles from the next campus?
Drove it today, I'm not sure, but yeah.
And I think that comes to the realization of if you look at the budget from the overall system, proportionately, we are always going to be on the short end. If you look at it from certain areas that need to be better represented for educational opportunities, keeping an eye on the economics of the area, I think that there's special recognition that needs to happen with Del Norte. And I would like to work with you to find out how to do that.
Well, we don't look at it proportionally. We're not saying if you've got this many students, then you get that amount of money. That's why we are all trying to get up here more to learn more about this campus so that we can give it an appropriate amount of allocations, because it's definitely not a true proportional thing. The way this center and all centers and at all the other colleges I've ever worked has been is that if you have the autonomy at the local centers, then you find out that it becomes very competitive and everybody starts fighting for the dollars. And when you have deans who know what the needs are and all the faculty they supervise are at all the different campuses, then those deans can look at where the needs are most prevalent. And I think that's where all of this will come out.
Well, I am encouraged that by the commitment to start spending more time here in the community.
Absolutely.
You know, first of all, I want to thank you for, you had a meeting with Jay and myself up here, and it's the first meeting I've had in a long time with the president of the College of the Redwoods. In fact, I voiced some of my concerns when we had our meeting, and I do appreciate your making the effort. You've been much more approachable than some of the previous presidents. And realize Del Norte is kind of its own little world up here because of how far we are away from the main campus. And I would reiterate what the chair is saying is College of the Redwoods is a very vital part to this community. Without the involvement of College of the Redwoods, even more so than has been in the past, this community dies. So we need it for the training as well as for the academic side. But offering the vocational ed, like we mentioned, the truck driving up here as one option, we need to have that out there. If you offer it at the Eureka campus, our kids are not going to get down there. There might as well be a big redwood curtain there because it's not going to happen. And so one of the things I would hope going forward, besides the local vocational ed, but also looking at some partnerships with the local school district, because you guys it's almost like one big campus there. You've got the high school right across the parking lot. Why not begin to marry some schedules up and offer, instead of an AP course at Del Norte High, let them walk across the parking lot and take an actual college course that isn't dependent on them passing the final test at the end of the year to get the units. I think that's a win-win on both situations. You encourage enrollment in ADA at both institutions. I do agree with Chair Finigan on the redistricting. I think that's a big mistake to cut Del Norte up in sections. I think whoever the trustee is here needs to be with just Del Norte. I mean, we all vote on things for the county in general, but we still fight for our constituencies. So I don't agree with the comment that, you're just there to deal with things as a whole for the college. You're still going to fight for your constituencies, at least you should be. The only other thing that I did bring, I was a little disturbed to see that you guys gave some credibility to Greg King as a speaker up here. on this ghost forest presentation that's really disturbing. That individual's done significant harm to this community, and I can tell you I've got a lot of constituents that are not thrilled about that, and I would be very cautious on sponsoring any, co-sponsoring any events with the Friends of Del Norte. That group has not been helpful to this community. It's been, in fact, Highway 199, it's cost us a couple $1 million in the process just recently. I would hope you guys would vet this out better than offering somebody that's done nothing but harm to the community up here. And I'm sure you get mixed reviews of him in Humboldt County, but to sponsor a local book signing event here at College of the Redwoods is, I think, a mistake.
Well, being new here, I don't know
Okay.
either of those
Well,
names, and I didn't even know that was happening.
I'm letting you know on that.
So I'm going to end it on a nice note.
Okay.
And I want to thank you very much for you showing up today and enlightening us on some of the programs, some of the problems. And I'm going to take the positive, the glass half full of what you're going to do in the future. I appreciate you bringing some of the your vice presidents with you. Rick, I appreciate you being here, as well as some of the teachers. And I'm going to invite any of the other members associated with the college that want to speak, or
Those are former students.
Former students.
Okay. Yeah.
Could I address the representation just one more time? One of the things that we had to do in redistricting is adhere to the California Voters' Rights Act. Right. And so if we had Del Norte County as one trustee area, it's much larger than all of our other trustee areas. It had to be split up because there's about, what, 28,000 voters or so?
No, 3 of them are not voters. They're in prison. So about 25,000 legal voters.
Okay. But we get our numbers from the county offices, and our average had to be around in the 20,000 range. So, and the precincts up here are so very large. It's a large area, but not as many voters in eastern Del Norte County. So it had to be split up one way or the other. There were different ways of doing that, but anyway, just wanted to address that. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Members of the public wish to say anything regarding the presentation.
We got Mr. Lonsdale. Kathy, I do want to just throw that in, so if it came across, it's not anything personal on your part, but I do appreciate you coming up. That's the best thing for us, to have that communication and willingness to work with the community here, so thank you.
Bill.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Bill Lonsdale. I live in Crescent City. I pay taxes toward the junior college, or the community college, and I have attended the community college, so I'm also one of their constituents. I'd like to thank them for the presentation today, but I have to kind of scratch my head as I hear all of the great things that are happening that I don't see when I go to our local campus. For me, a community college has a couple of responsibilities to a community. First is the 2-year education of the students who are going on in life, or going on to a state college who recognizes the credits from that community college. Second is to the people coming up, the high school kids, who can be inspired by great classroom teaching, both in their own school and across the parking lot at CR, if the good teachers are still there. And third is lifelong learning, continuing education, into which category, as you can see, I fall. I have taken almost every political science and economics and history course that CR has offered since 2005. I would like to continue doing that, and I pay. There's tuition can be derived from me. I don't know how much of the cost that covers. But I see classrooms where courses that I would like to audit, because I've already taken them for credit, are sitting 1/3 full. The teacher is teaching, and the students are there, but no more students are being accepted. We seem to be unable to find our way around a regulation of the college that says you can only audit the class once. Or there used to be a provision that if the class wasn't overcrowded, the professor could say, that student can audit. Those possibilities have been discontinued at our CR campus. I think back to a happier time that Chairman Finigan has pointed out in the past in these discussions, where Channel 4 carried inspiring lectures from the college in that wonderful TV studio classroom that they have and don't use. What happened to that? Well, somebody decided that unless it was closed captioned, it was in violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. But they couldn't find the money for closed captioning. There's a catch-22 that just is absolutely perfect. Administration wins, students lose. So what I would like to see from the current administration of the college is focus on the 3 community goals here in Del Norte, and a little bit more flexibility in how those goals can be achieved. For example, why should we have 5, 10, 15 students driving down to Eureka to take a course that isn't being offered here, rather than having one teacher drive up here twice a week to teach the course? Which is more economical? Which is more cost efficient? Which is more time efficient? It may be a hardship on the teacher, but that's what teachers are for. I've been one, I know. So with that said, I'd like to thank them again for their presentation and hope that maybe just a little bit of this gets through. Thank you.
Bill, thank you very much for your comments, and I'm sure they'll be received in the manner in which they were given. Good comments. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you again, Kathy and the crew. We are going to go to a well, I'll take the easy one first. We'll go to item number 32, discuss and approve the following actions regarding a utility easement.
Good morning. Still, yeah.
We'll just hold
Okay,
off
this
just
is a return from our last meeting on May 27th. We were directed to return to our office and look at some different ideas for addressing the issue of accommodating an easement or some way for Big Five to be able to put utility improvements on county-owned property. What we arrived at was an encroachment permit, which would be issued over the counter by the County Engineering Division, with a direction to county CDD staff to work with city staff to address the overall issue regarding the lack of public utility easements in and around that immediate area that affect not only our property but adjacent properties. So the burden of the public utility easement would not be on Big Five, but really on the jurisdictions responsible for it.
Okay, so the recommendation is, number 1, an encroachment permit be obtained from the county for any work performed on county property. And number 2, direct CDD staff to work with city staff to devise a plan to establish public utility easements for all existing utilities located outside of recorded public utility easements relative to the county's parcel and lands adjacent to it. Thank you for your work on this. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Public comment on this issue. Back to the board. I just want to acknowledge some of the hard work that was done on this, where cooler heads prevailed for the betterment of the community. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Heidi. Appreciate your work very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And last but not least, we're going to review the solid waste.
We already voted on the computer. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Dean.
Did we get it?
We're going to go ahead and review the Solid Waste Management Authority draft budget for fiscal year 14-15 as requested by the Acting Director, Program Manager. Ted.
Thank you, Chair Finigan, fellow supervisors. What you have before you is the draft of the budget for the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority. Solid Waste Management Authority is responsible for managing and permitting the transfer station facilities in Crescent City, Klamath, and Gasky, as well as monitoring, reporting, and maintenance of the Crescent City landfill, administration of the household hazardous waste programs, and our household hazardous waste program event is coming up this October 4th, as well as oversight of the collections contract by Recology Del Norte and Hambro Waste Solutions Group, the operator of the transfer station. What you have before you is a status quo budget. This is not reflecting any changes to the current staffing plan. There are no taxes involved in the authority's budget. We are funded by ratepayers, a portion of the tipping fees at the transfer station, as well as franchise fees. We do have the lowest rates in the region. Here you have a slide before you showing that our minimum charge is lower than any other facility in Curry or Humboldt County. And if we could go forward one, here we go. Also, our per ton fee is the lowest in the region. This is even after the rate adjustments that will go into effect starting July 1st. And I thought I had one more slide here. Perhaps not. Okay, that's the last one. The last slide was just to indicate that the Solid Waste Authority revenues are approximately 14% of the total solid waste expenditures in the county, the rest going to Recology, Delnart, and Hambro Waste Solutions Group. So this is your opportunity to review and comment on this budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions. In overview, like I said, this is the status quo budget. There are some increases because we do have a what's called a constituent of concern monitoring program. That's every 5 years we have to do a more in-depth sampling out at the Crescent City landfill. And also this budget presumes that a grant program that has benefited the authority on behalf of the city and the county for many years, supporting the outreach related to recycling beverage containers, was drafted to be discontinued in the governor's budget, and so we budgeted that as a zero amount, anticipating that that program would be cut. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Supervisors?
I had, yeah, if I could. Ted, the state fees that you have increased by $7,000 plus. Is that the water quality permit?
Yeah, the state fees that are facing us are the waste discharge requirements permit. That's the largest one associated with the Crescent City landfill. It's over $60,000, and it's related to the threat and complexity rating that's assigned to the landfill. And we've been appealing that, but at this point in time, this is budgeted to anticipating that appeal would not be successful.
Weren't there some extra wells or something that were?
We have drilled 2 additional wells, and like I said, that appeal is ongoing, but based on the preliminary data, we budgeted for the full payment for that fee.
And then you talked about the increase in the well monitoring, and that's just an every 5-year?
Every 5 years, we have this much more comprehensive suite of constituents that we sample for.
That doesn't have anything to do with the other 2 wells?
No, it's unrelated.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Supervisor Sullivan, nothing. Supervisor Gitlin, you're the chair of this organization, I believe. Got any comments?
No, actually, we've gone over this in our solid waste meeting, and I'm sure we'll review tomorrow. I think you've done a good job, Ted. There is some concern about what monies we're saving. We don't have a current director right now, and I think you've clarified that. So I'm pleased with what you've done.
Thank you, sir.
I just want to address one issue, Ted, and I don't know where, I don't find it in the budget as for uncollectible assets or shortage of revenues, but it's been brought out that there's $29,000 missing. Where in the budget is the line item that would address that, and how would it be recaptured in revenue if it was identified, and more importantly, where is it identified as a shortage?
The most recent information I have from the sheriff's office is the amount of money missing is closer to $9,000. However, that money that was missing was associated with bad checks, and so we're working on that issue with the county auditor, because part of the issue of writing that down is agreeing what is the total amount of bad checks that were outstanding, which ones have already been referred to collections, and which ones are to be written off. That process is still awaiting a final resolution with the county auditor.
Okay, and I guess I must have misunderstood the report from other supervisors that it
You know
wasn't
what,
bad
I
checks.
did verify it with, and I got a email from the sheriff because I sent an email to him after the triplicate article came out, and he said he was waiting for the auditor control to verify it, and I did verify it. It's $29,000 missing.
My apologies, sir.
And it's not bad checks. So I know that story keeps getting rewritten. It's stolen money. It's embezzled money. So there
So I
might be a
guess-
sliver of that that's bad checks, but I guess Supervisor Finnegan's point is...
So part of me
it needs
is I didn't want to
reflect-
open up that discussion that probably is more geared towards a grand jury or something. But shouldn't it, if there's a budget and there's money missing, shouldn't it be identified, whether, no matter what the amount is in the budget?
As I said,
Otherwise, how would you
the
pay it
total
back?
amount, the amount of money missing is in part associated with a list of checks with insufficient funds. And so we still need to work with the county auditor, just as any other department would. If a county department receives a bad check, they need to reconcile that with the county auditor. That's what we are still endeavoring to do.
So I guess what I wanted to point it out is it's not in the budget, and I would ask our representative, who happens to be the chair, to take my comments back to his board and address that in the budget somewhere, please.
And we are looking into that, Chair Finnegan. I will say this, that we have done a forensic audit. The problem is there's no smoking gun. There is missing money, and there's also destroyed records. So it's not like that we can go back years and years ago and find out where is this missing money. The records have been destroyed. So unless there is some recalcitrant observer who watched this happen, it's going to be very difficult to prove. I consider the sheriff's report to be an ongoing investigation, even though at current we do have a report on it. And the missing money in question is $29,000, and we were led to believe that this was as a result of bad checks and poor bookkeeping, and that's not the case here. So I think we'll keep our options open, and as the saying goes, let the dust settle a little bit.
So I'll actually, as the other appointee, I'll bring your comments back to the budget, and we'll make sure that it
Thank
reflects
you.
somewhere
I
in the budget.
appreciate
So,
that, Supervisor Sullivan, because it's not about who's recalcitrant or pointing the fingers at any one individual or lack of smoking guns. It happens to do with the topic at hand, which is the budget. And there is no identification nor mention of missing monies or where it would fall. So that's my comments, and please address it to the solid waste since their chair won't. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anything else before the board? If not, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all for attending.